I'm Adam, and I'm going to teach you how to play The Wanderer. It's a strategy card game for 2 to 6 players where you get to represent some higher force in the universe, like magnetism or war or fortune. Along the way, you get access to some really cool themed abilities linked to your power, as well as the abilities of the other forces in play. We have a lot to go over, so let's get started.
The Wanderer is a strategy card game for 2 to 6 players. Teammates always sit across from each other, and crosstalk is allowed. The core mechanic of the game is crafting intrigues, which are stacks of 3 intrigue cards that give you special advantages and, most importantly, deal damage to all your opponents. The object of the game is to be the last player with points remaining. Let's do a quick overview of the 3 types of cards in the game. There are power cards, emissary cards, and intrigue cards. The first are intrigue cards. These are the bread and butter of the game. You could use them to craft 3 card sets or runs called intrigues, which then you can activate to deal damage to your opponents. Intrigue cards have 3 different face values: maidens, magicians, and horsemen, plus wild cards. They're suited light and dark, which indicates which type you'll want to use, depending on whether you're playing as a light or dark emissary. You can see that when in a matching 3-card set, they can be imbued with additional properties like heal or charm. Next are emissary cards. There are 16 emissaries in total, but only 6 different emissaries in any given game. When you draw an emissary card, you can use its ability, regardless of whether it matches your suit or not. For example, if I'm playing as Will, which is a light-suited emissary, I can still use War's ability if I have the War emissary card in hand. The Wanderer is a special type of emissary. There's only one Wanderer card in any game, and when you hold the Wanderer, you can use any emissary power in the game. You can see here the 6 emissaries pre-configured for this game, which I can choose from if I was holding the card. The catch is that once you use the Wanderer, you have to pass it left. This adds an element of strategy as you decide whether to use the Wanderer's power and then hand it over, or risk having it stolen from you by other emissaries like the Mighty or Insight, which are really good at managing who controls the Wanderer. Last up are power cards. These are the most important cards in the game. They have 2 uses. First, you could use a power card to activate a waiting intrigue. So if I was a light-suited emissary like Will, I might have this intrigue waiting since last round. When I activate it, I lay the power card on it and then declare its value, which is the number of points damage my opponents would take. All those cards then go into the discard. The other use for a power card is at-will use of your emissary ability. So if I was playing as Will, I could discard a power card to steal 3 cards from my opponent's hand and then give 1 back. There are only 16 power cards in the deck, so you need to be careful how to use them and stay on guard for emissaries like Will or Disciple of Fire that can steal them from your hand. Now we get into the pre-configure aspect of the game. In any game, there are always 6 different emissaries in play. You can choose your favorite 6 and use the custom game Wanderer, or use one of the pre-configured Wanderers, which have been specially arranged for some fun and powerful combinations. I'd recommend going with first game if it's your first game. Take out the pairs of emissary cards for the 6 emissaries listed on the Wanderer that you chose.
Next, grab the description cards for each of the 6 emissaries in play. At this point, you could either choose which emissary you want to play, or flip them over and have everybody randomly choose.
Be sure that everybody reads out loud their entire description card, which explains their emissary ability and their unique strength, which I'll explain later. Once that's done, each player takes one of the 2 emissary cards and lays it face up next to their description card. Remember, description cards are just reminders and they're not used in play. Anybody could look at your description card at any time.
The emissary card next to your description card is referred to as in reserve. This is essentially a free use of your emissary ability. The in reserve card sits in front of you until you use it, at which point it goes into the discard.
The main deck is made up of 90 cards. That includes all light and dark suit intrigue cards, all wilds, plus all 16 power cards. Once all players have chosen their emissaries and then place their in-reserve emissary cards on the table, the dealer then randomly places the Wanderer and all of the remaining emissary cards for that game into the main deck. Give the deck a good shuffle and then deal 6 cards to each player. The remaining deck becomes the draw pile, which gets placed face down in the middle of the table next to the 2 charm cards. Charm cards get slid in front of anybody who is charmed as a reminder. The discard will form on the other side of the draw pile. Last, make sure that you have an easy way to keep score. We like to use 12-sided dice, but you could use counters, a pen and paper, or whatever you like.
You can see that we have our points, we have our description cards, and we have our in-reserve emissary cards in front of us. 2 charm cards are here at the ready, and we have our draw deck that has all of the unused emissaries that correspond to the Wanderer that we're playing, and all the other cards. On your turn, you have basically 3 steps. The first is the draw step, where you draw 3 cards. Next is your action step, and then there's a discard. So these are the 6 cards that I was dealt. And again, I'm playing Fortune, which is a light-suited emissary. So I'm going to pick my 3. Okay. So on my turn, I have this renowned intrigue card. It's a renowned horseman. So that can count as 1 or 3 common light horsemen. So I could put that down. That's a single card intrigue. And now, because I have a power card, I could power it immediately because that can do a raid. So 3 horsemen together, which is basically what a renowned card is, equals a raid, and a raid does not have to wait. So I'm going to activate that intrigue immediately and do 1 point damage to my opponent. What else do I have here? Well, because I'm a light-suited emissary, I can't really use these dark-suited cards. But Alchemy allows me to discard any 3 cards to do a point damage to all my opponents. So what I'm going to do is just get rid of these 3 dark-suited cards, and I could use Alchemy, discard those, and do another point damage to my opponent. On your action step, you can activate intrigues, you can use your in-reserve emissary, you could use a power card to use your emissary ability, use your strength, you can craft intrigues, or any of the above, as many times as you have cards to do so. At the end of your step, you need to discard. So I'm going to discard this Figment card, and I'm done. Let's go over how to craft intrigues. On your action step, you can create intrigues as 3-card runs, which have 3 different face values, such as Magician, Horseman, Maiden, or sets, which have 3 of the same face values, like these 3 Magicians. You can see there's a wild in the middle, which can count as any face type. Group the cards together and place them in a face-up pile in front of you. You could arrange the cards in your intrigue in any stacking order, but be careful not to let your opponents see anything but the top card of the stack. Like that. Once you create your intrigue stack, you can't rearrange it, though you could look through it at any time. Stack order is important because some emissaries, like secrets, can steal the top card or cards of your waiting intrigue. Once created, the intrigue is called waiting, and it needs to wait until your next turn to activate. The exception to that is a set of 3 horsemen, which forms a raid that you can activate immediately. You want to craft intrigues from cards that match your emissary suit. So if you're a light emissary like Insight, you could make an intrigue that looks like these 3 horsemen. They're all light. That said, you could include up to 1 opposite suit intrigue card in your intrigue. This is called a mixed intrigue. However, when you activate a mixed intrigue, it deals 1 point damage back to you.
Intrigues are always worth a minimum of 1 point, even if cards have been removed, and they deal damage to all opponents when activated. Even though an intrigue is still usable if it's had cards removed, it no longer counts as a 3-card set, and it loses the powerful match set abilities like Heal or Charm. Secrets, War, and Disciple of Fire are all great at negating those match set properties. Every skilled intrigue card raises the value of your intrigue by 1 point. Since every intrigue is worth an automatic 1 point, you could have a maximum of 4-point intrigue if you have 3 skilled cards in it. Steadfast intrigue cards protect the intrigue that they're in from being destroyed, and basically can blunt emissary abilities like War, Secrets, and Disciple of Fire. For example, if I target my opponent's intrigue with my War ability, and that intrigue has a Steadfast card in it, then instead of discarding the entire intrigue, only the Steadfast card is discarded. Renown intrigue cards can count as either 1 or 3 of the same suit and face type. So you can lay a single renowned card down and have it count as a complete 3-card intrigue with match properties, Raid, Charm, or Heal. The danger is this single renowned card is very vulnerable to attack from War or Disciple of Fire. If you use it as standalone, it needs to match your suit since it counts as 3 cards. Alternatively, you can include a renowned card in a standard 3-card intrigue, and in that case, it just counts as a common card. There are 2 classes of wild cards in the game. Standard wilds count as any face type and either suit. Figment cards count as either suit, but they're a set face type. You can never have a Figment card as the top card of an intrigue. If a Figment ever appears as the top card, it gets discarded immediately. Intrigues containing 3 intrigue cards with the same face type grant special properties when activated. However, if an intrigue has 1 or more cards removed from it while waiting, it loses those match set properties. Here's how these match sets work. 3 Maidens is a heal. When you activate this intrigue, you have the option to add the normal value of this set intrigue plus 1 additional point to your point total, and that's instead of damaging opponents. For example, an intrigue with 3 common maiden cards is worth 2 points if used to heal. Three Horsemen is a raid. This one's simple but deadly, because raid intrigues can be activated against opponents as soon as they're created without waiting a turn. Three Magicians is a charm. When you activate this intrigue, you deal the standard amount of damage to all opponents, and you also get to choose one opponent to charm. As soon as an opponent is charmed, that player is unable to use their emissary ability or strength. They have to skip their next action step, but they can still draw and discard on their turn as normal. Slide the charm card in front of the charmed player to remind all other players of their condition for that turn. The charm ends at the completion of the charmed player's discard step. In addition to its core ability, every emissary has a strength. Unlike emissary abilities, which can be accessed by everyone via the emissary cards that are filtered in the deck, your strength is truly your unique ability, and it's unique to the emissary that you play. No two emissaries have the same strength, and many strengths are designed to balance out their emissary ability counterparts. For example, Alchemy's emissary ability is that it can discard any 3 cards to deal 1 point damage to all opponents. Its strength, resourcefulness, ensures that the Alchemy player will be drawing a lot of extra cards to power that ability. Strengths serve to bend and break the rules of the game. For example, Magnetism's strength is that it allows it to skip the discard step. The Free doesn't suffer damage when activating a mixed suit intrigue, and Secrets places its waiting intrigues face down. Whenever a strength contradicts a core rule of the game, the strength supersedes the game rule. If you're playing a multiplayer game and you reduce an opponent to 0 points, then you get any power cards that are in their hand. You're not required to discard on the turn that you win the game, because at that point the game is over.
Well, that's it. Those are the core rules of the game. I hope that you enjoy discovering all the different combinations between those 16 emissaries. And if you have questions, please don't hesitate. Reach out to me. I'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks very much and enjoy playing.